Good day, everyone, and welcome to week number 5, MELC number 18 of English 10. Now, if you notice, there's a man walking and having his journey. Where is he headed? There's only one way to find out, and that is to continue watching this video. Our objective for today, which is under MELC number 18, or most essential learning competency under English 10, is critic, a literary selection based on the overall artistic value of its structure and elements. So today, we're going to start with structuralist or formalist approach. So let's have a review first. What do you think is this missing word? So this refers to the tools used by writers to hint at larger themes, ideas, and meaning in a story or piece of writing. Think about it. There's I, there's E. I'm pretty sure you know the answer. It's literary devices. Correct. So that is referring to literary devices. And this will be very helpful in order for us to identify the structure of a certain text. Let's head on to the learning quest number 1. In this quest, you're going to identify what literary device is used. So these are the choices. We have simile, metaphor, imagery, symbolism, alliteration, rhyme, repetition, assonance, onomatopoeia, and personification. Now let's start with number 1. This tree is the god of the forest. If you notice, there are two words being compared: tree and the god of the forest. So, if there's a certain resemblance on the characteristics of the two, the tree and the god, then what do you think is this kind of literary device? Yes, that is correct. That's metaphor. And if you notice, there is direct comparison in metaphor. You don't use like or as in making comparisons. Now let's proceed to number 2. The swinging and the ringing of the bells, 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 of the bells, 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 bells. So, what do you think is the correct literary device in number 2? Obviously, because bells, the word bells is repeated several times. That's even being redundant because there's repetition and there's several times. So then we could say by the word, because it's repeated, then that is called repetition. All right? Are you now remembering the things that you've learned from the lower grade levels? I hope so. Now let's proceed to number 3. It says here that there's a rainbow after every storm. Now if rainbow represents hope, then there is what we call representation. And if there's representation, then it is called, you're right if you're thinking that it is referring to symbolism. Now let's proceed to number 4. The car needs a cold shower. Now naturally, who takes a shower? And because this is referring to persons and a car is not a person, then number 4 refers to personification. Okay? Let's continue with number 5. You are as brave as a lion. If you notice, the person being addressed as you and the quality of a lion, which is being brave, this is a certain kind of comparison. But unlike metaphor that we have encountered a while ago, this uses a word as. So with this comparison using the word as, the same thing if we use like, then this is called simile. Okay? Now let's continue with the next number. In number 6, it says here that the tree spread its gigantic sun-flecked shoulders. Now, the gigantic sun-fleck is being highlighted here by the use of italic words. So gigantic is an adjective, sun-flecked, and this tries to put a mental picture which uses a certain kind of sense, which is referring to the sense of sight. And this becomes visual imagery because we could imagine how big the shoulders or the branches of the tree are. So gigantic referring to size, and sun-flecked is referring to its appearance. So that means to say this pertains to what we call imagery. Okay? Now let's continue with number 7. Out of the night that covers me, black as the peak from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. So, you see the words that are underlined. So, me and be, and then pole and soul. What do you notice with the sound? Yes, that is correct. They all rhyme. So, what are those words that rhyme? So, obviously, me, which is A. So, A given to the first kind of sound that we hear, me. And then, for pole, that's not the same as the sound of me. Me, pole. So, that's the second sound. So, we denote it with another letter, which is B. How about B? B has the same sound as me. So, that's why we denote it with the same letter as the first sound. So, that is A. And soul rhymes with pole. That's why we give another letter which is the same as the second sound, and that is B. So that is referring to rhyme. Now number 8. Number 8, the sack fell into the river with a splash. So from the word splash, it imitates the sound of something that will fall into water. Then that means to say it's called, that's correct, it's onomatopoeia. Number 9, I like to decline an offer of wine to define my style. If you notice, the highlighted vowels or letters with vowel sound are the same. So that's why this is called assonance. Number 10, the shepherd shook his head in negation because of the repetition of the initial sounds of SH, sh. Okay? Then we could say that this is called alliteration. Alright? So, let us try to sum it up. Summarize the things, the literary devices that we have just reviewed. So first, what do you think again is the indirect comparison? Two unrelated objects are being compared to each other with the use of the words like or as. So like in the examples, you are as bright as the sun. And my brother is like a tree. So a while ago, you remember that? It is called simile. Next, direct comparison. So a while ago it's indirect, this one is direct. Direct because you don't use the words like or as anymore. A statement in which two objects that are often unrelated are compared to each other. Like for example, if we are going to change the examples of simile to metaphor, we will just simply remove the words like or as. So you could say, you are the sun, so that's direct comparison. My brother is a tree, so that's another direct comparison. Okay? That's why this is called metaphor. Right? So you see the difference between the two. Let's now proceed to this. So obviously, it engages the senses to deepen the reader's comprehension of what is happening and how to feel about it. Then this is called imagery. Obviously, you see the words imagery in the examples, and there are different types of imagery. When you use when you use a certain word that refers to the sense of sight, that is called visual imagery or sight imagery in other references, then this refers to sight imagery or visual. So the tree spread its gigantic sun-flecked shoulders, that is the use of the sense of sight, then that becomes sight or visual imagery. Next we have sound imagery. And this is also called auditory imagery in other references. The forest was hushed, resounding with echoes of the tree's stoic silence. So it tries to activate your sense of hearing. So that's why this is called sound or auditory imagery. Next, for touch imagery, this is also considered tactile imagery in some references. The tree felt smooth as sandstone. So then this word smooth and the idea of sandstone as being smooth then gives us a mental picture about this tree and how we could use the sense of touch in order to have a clearer visual or detail about what we would like to imagine. Let's continue with taste imagery. So for taste imagery, the example is the tree's leaves tasted bitter, like unroasted coffee beans. So because of the words used, like bitter, unroasted, beans, the coffee beans, it triggered our sense of taste. So that's why this is another form of imagery. Okay, next we have smell imagery. So the sweet aroma of the freshly baked chocolate chip cookies wafted from the kitchen to the living room. So I could see that you can imagine that kind of smell. And that is also considered olfactory imagery in other references. So because of activating your sense of smell with these words, then this is called smell imagery. Okay? So that is what imagery is all about. Now let's continue. What do you think this one is? It uses symbols, which can be words, people, marks, locations, or abstract ideas to represent something beyond the literal meaning. For example, red rose symbolizes love and romance. Four-leaf clover symbolizes good luck or fortune. Wedding ring symbolizes commitment and matrimony. And because of the word symbolizes, obviously we are referring here to symbolism. Okay? Next, it gives human attributes to non-human objects. Or simply, it personifies something that is not a person. So that will give you the clue that it is referring to personification. Like in the example, the trees are dancing in the breeze. So the idea of dancing is a quality or a certain skill that persons usually have. And the trees are not persons, yet dancing is attributed to it. So that's why we could say that this is personification. Alright, so let's proceed to the next. It is the matching vowel sounds at the end of words or lines, like the sky is very sunny. It has the same sound with funny. Sit has the same sound with bit. As I have shown you a while ago, this is referring to rhyme. So the pattern AABB actually refers to what we call rhyme scheme. Okay, and the second one is repetition. Obviously, is the repeating of any words, phrases, sentences, or lines within a poem. So never stop. Those are the first words of these statements. Never stop caring, never stop dreaming, never stop wondering, never stop thinking. And because of the repetition of any word, phrase, sentence, or lines within a poem or certain text, then that is called repetition. Okay? So you see, a rhyme again has what we call rhyme scheme, and repetition is obviously the repeating of any of the given words, phrases, sentences, or lines. Next, this is another kind of repetition, but this is referring to the vowel sounds within words. So it means to say it's somewhere in the middle, not at the beginning of the words. So like torch, yours, home. And if you remember a while ago in the first learning quest, then this is referring to assonance. Next, the repetition of the consonant sounds at the beginning of words. We're referring to constant sounds, not consonants per se. So it doesn't mean that it begins with the same letter, then that is already called alliteration. No, it may also be something that is not a certain consonant letter, but because it has the same consonant sounds, then that can be considered alliteration. Okay, in the example we have here, she sells seashells by the seashore. Okay, next. It uses words which imitate the natural sounds of the things. So just like plop, plop, face, piece, a water leaf, it is. So because of these natural sounds of certain things, then this is called onomatopoeia. Alright? So those are some of the figures of speech or literary devices that you have learned from the lower grade level. Let's continue with our journey in English 10. And this time, let's proceed to the idea of formalism or formalist approach. The way that we have analyzed literary devices, that's already one way to use this approach. To further understand what formalism or formalist approach is, let's try to analyze these ideas. First, it refers to critical approaches that analyze, interpret, or evaluate the inherent features of a text. So, we try to look at the features, the structure, the pattern, the format, then that is formalism approach. So these features include not only grammar and syntax, but also literary devices such as meter and figures of speech. The formalist approach reduces the importance of a text's historical, biographical, and cultural context. Meaning to say, if we make use of the formalist approach, we don't dig deeper into the text's relevance to the history, biography of the one who wrote it, and the cultural setting, the time that that particular text was written. So we just analyze the features, the format, the structure, the parts, the pattern used in a certain text or literary devices or figures of speech when it comes to poems or other work of literature. Now, another thing in formalism, readers do not need detailed knowledge beyond the text. So you're just looking at the text itself. You don't need to Google something or browse on any search engines to figure out what's more beyond what you see in the text. So the meaning is inherently conveyed in the text's unique form or structure. So you just look at its form and its structure. So formalism can be first technical because it attempts to be a science of literature with a technical vocabulary. So we try to be more of a linguistic. So when we try to dig into the different literary texts. Explicate formalism emphasizes clarification or close reading of the work itself. So we read something carefully so we can clarify some ideas that are confusing at the first time that we have read something. And letter C is formal because it aims to classify, categorize, and catalog works according to their formal attributes. So we try to put some classifications to the things that we have read based on its features, then or their features, then that is called formal. Okay? Let's continue with the second learning question. So you're just going to carefully analyze the point and choose the best answer. In the questions that will follow after this video. So let me play it.
Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. And sorry I could not travel both and be one traveller. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, as just as fair and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden flag. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference.
Thank you so much to the creators of this video presentation. So this poem is written by Robert Frost, but we are not going to dig into who Robert Frost is. Instead, using the structuralist or formalist approach, we're just going to look into its point, structure itself, and the literary devices used. So these are the lines from the poem, The Road Not Taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. Sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, and leaves no step had trodden back. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one that's traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Now, let's answer each of the following questions by choosing the best among the choices carefully. Let's begin with number 1. Based on the information in the poem, what do yellow woods represent? So, as you have seen in the first line, two roads diverge in a yellow wood. So what do you think? Is yellow woods referring to choice, people, older people, or poets? Okay, if your answer is A, then that is correct. Next, in number 2. In the first stanza of the poem, how is the word diverged used? So you notice, two roads diverge in a yellow wood. So what do you think is that diverge referring to? Is it A, headed the same place, to the same place, circled around and went backward, went in different directions, continued forward in a straight line? And because there is a mentioning of two roads, then it means the answer is, you're correct if you answered in your head letter C, went in different directions. Next, the rhyme scheme in the first stanza is, so if you notice, wood both stood could undergrowth. The correct answer is letter A. How is it letter A? Wood is A per sound. Both is another sound, so B. Stood is the same as wood's sound, so that's why it's A again. Could is the same as the A sound, so A again. And undergrowth is the same as the sound in B, which is both. So that's why this is B. So AB, AAB is the rhyme scheme. Number 4. What is the setting of this poem? Now, if you answered A, it's correct. A wood with two roads in it. Let's proceed to number 5. In line 20, which is, and that has made all the difference. Okay, according to the speaker of the poem, what do you think is being referred to? Is it referring to A, the speaker took the road less traveled by? B, the speaker chose a road after looking as far down it as possible? C, the speaker selected a road that bent in the brushwood? Or is it D, the speaker chose the first of the two roads? So if you answer letter A, obviously that is the correct answer. Let's proceed to number 6. You can infer that the tone of the poem is it about love and determination, confusion and hesitation, happiness and satisfaction, D, weariness and despair? And because the end of the poem, the last stanza, tells that the speaker of the poem is somehow proud that he or she took the less traveled road, then we could say that it's more of C, happiness and satisfaction. Because there were no regrets present in choosing the less traveled by road. Number 7. Why the road have wanted wear and been grassy in the second stanza? Again, why the road have wanted wear and been grassy in the second stanza? So, the correct answer is A. The second road had been taken by only few people. So that's why if you are wanting wear, it means to say that it's not yet worn out. At the same time, grassy because there are only few who step on that kind of road. So that's why grass started growing or continuously grows. Number 8. What do you think is the theme all about in this poem? Is it living life to the fullest, making a choice, giving up hope, having strong determination? So it is about, obviously, B, making a choice. Number 9. I shall be telling this with a sigh. This in this line refer to what? Is it A, the picture of the first road winding in the undergrowth? B, the plants and grasses that lay near the paths in the yellow woods? C, the residence of the speaker in the vicinity of the yellow woods? Or D, the explanation of why the speaker chose the second road? Obviously, the answer is letter D. Let's move on to the next number, and that is the last, number 10. What are the various sounds that are used to emphasize some sections of the poem? It's quite difficult, but let's look at the stanza presented. One of the stanzas presented will tell you the correct answer. So, the best answer is letter A, alliteration, assonance, rhyme, and rhythm. Let's have this sample. So we have alliteration because of the words wanted where. Both start with the W consonant sound. Next, we also have assonance, the, other, as, just, as. So we have somewhere in between, okay, in the sound of the words. So that's assonance. Then we have also rhyme. So fair rhymes with where and there, and then claim, same. So that's rhyme. Those are the words that rhyme. And finally, we have rhythm. When you say rhythm, the pattern of stress and unstressed syllables in a certain line. For example, had, unstressed syllable, burn, stressed syllable, them, unstressed, re, stressed Li, unstressed. Unstressed. About, stress. The, unstressed. Same, stress. So there's a certain pattern. Had warned them really about the same. So same with the rest of the lines. If you'll notice, there's a certain pattern of stress and unstressed syllables. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had warned them really about the same. So because of this, there's a certain rhythm achieved in the poem. Okay? So let's move on to the last learning quest, number 4. Based on the poem, answer the given questions. So this is the poem, again, by Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. First, give the line in the poem which tells that the word diverge means went in different directions. Very simple, right? It says here, and sorry I could not travel both. So, the idea there is we could not travel to both paths. So that's why there are different directions. 2 roads in different directions. Okay? Next, choose the lines which tell that the speaker wishes that he or she did not have to make a choice between the roads. Okay? If this is your answer, then you are correct. And be one traveler, long I stood. Okay? So the line there is, and be one traveler, long I stood, would give us something, a hint that he doesn't like to have any choices to choose from or options to choose from. That's why he stood there for some period of time. Okay? And in the second stanza, it tells us also that Dan took the other as just as fair and having perhaps the better claim. So somehow, the one speaking in the poem is thinking that we don't know, perhaps the other one is a better claim. So somehow he wished there are no 2 roads to choose from. Number 3, the speaker claims that he or she has taken the road less traveled by. Is the speaker telling the truth? Support your answer with evidence from the text. Yes, this is quite easy because you can see here it was grassy and wanted wear. So if it's grassy, obviously, okay, it is something that is not traveled much. Now, I'm not sure if you can observe that in a certain field with grass, and if you see something wherein there are no grasses growing on that portion, then that means to say that that particular space is something that people usually use in traveling. So that's why there's no grass in it. And if it's grassy, then it means to say that something that is not traveled much. Wanted wear, meaning to say it wants wear, meaning to say it's not yet worn out. 4. What makes the poet decide to take the less traveled road? And what does it signify? Now, we could say that he wanted to make a difference. It tells us that whatever choice we make, we must think of the consequences and learn from all the trials and mistakes that we have experienced. Right? And number 5, what does the image of 2 diverging roads symbolize? It symbolizes, obviously, life's choices. So in life, we will really meet certain situations wherein we need to make a choice. Alright, so I think We have traveled a lot today with how Robert Frost describes the things that he saw as a speaker of the poem in his poem, The Road Not Taken. So with that, this will be your asynchronous task. Note that this will serve as your attendance and quiz. You're going to answer this task until Wednesday for it to be counted as an attendance and for you to earn 5 recitation points. If not, it will be considered only as a quiz. The task will be given in Google Forms and that will be posted in the Google Classroom. If you watch this visual lesson, you can get a perfect score. So hopefully you will reach this portion of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Good day and God bless everyone. Stay safe at home.